welcome to Lightworker Radio. My name is Nikki McGregor. I'm the founder of the GOL Network and Gathering of Lightworkers community. And some of you may have not have heard of the GOL Network, but this is a space where we bring together the holistic health and wellness providers together with the seekers that are looking and on their journey, trying to find the answers to their wellness needs of mind, body, and spirit. And so this is such a unique space where we bring the providers and the seekers together, and it really is unmatched, and you can't compare. It's very unique and not like anything else. So I'm very proud to be part of this and honored to be part of this journey with so many magical individuals. I want to introduce here my dear friend, Laurie Ray. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. What an honor to be here with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I love about this interview, we're going to be talking about your experience in India on a silent retreat. But I want to share with all of you, 2 years ago, in March, we came together, and I'm going to say there was a vision, but you were the spark making with the GOL coming together. Laurie Ray came down from Montana, was visiting, and I was thinking of all these amazing people. I was like, you got to meet this person and this person. And you said, well, bring them together. I'll stay an extra day. And we did. And we had 12 people around a table at a coffee shop. And that day was it was so uplifting. It was so powerful that we had to do it again and again.
Yes.
And it really started with being anchored in the frequency of joy and gratitude and coming together as community, not about the
Yes.
this and the that, and being able to collaborate on all things healing. And that right there is where we started. And that is always where we're going to be anchored. So as we grow and thrive and become much more and add on more services for our community, we are always going to stay anchored in that. And so thank you so much for being that spark. Oh my gosh.
I think the spark has always been inside of you, truly. I might have just been the little tink. I don't know. It's, the divine,
It's
definitely. And one of the things I remember, Nikki, about that first meeting and sitting there with everybody, it was the feeling of, I'm not alone, right? Because I know that, and this is true, I think, for a lot of us, that we get so isolated in the feeling of, wow, I feel like I'm doing this alone because I don't want really that kind of energy. I don't hang out in bars. I don't do, right. And so that created such a feeling of family that it was amazing. Then you took it and just ran. I mean, just what you've done is so amazing.
yeah.
I hate to do this. I got to let my dog out. Please forgive me, everybody. 1 second.
You're good. No, I'm just gonna, as we keep going, hey, this is real life, right? This is we're authentic and real in our group. But that really is, it's taking that moment of having a vision and then just really running with it. And honestly, having like you yourself, and I could name so many people in GOL that are that we are a tribe, we are that
Yes.
support. And so that
Yes.
it's like a humming engine vibration, right? And this catalyst that's happened. And I might be kind of like spearheading forward, but it takes all of us to
Yes.
keep this going in all the right energy coming from that heart centered. Even though we
Yes.
are a provider network, we have a new provider directory that we launched last year, and that's growing. We're having an education hub. We're providing education for the last 2 years to guests in the community to come learn all these little techniques and wisdoms, because that's the fun part, is there's so many people in our group that
Mhm.
know really cool stuff,
Mhm.
and we don't want to keep that a secret. So it's, how do we get this out? And
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, and the connections and uh, the availability for information, no matter kind of what people are seeking on a physical, a financial, a spiritual level, an emotional healing level, you're providing that with the directory that you have. It's been fascinating to watch you just absolutely unfold all of this and create this. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. It's
Amazing job.
thank you. Thank you. It's I had this vision, like many of you, I'm sure many of you that are watching this, because I've met a lot, but I have this big vision of a holistic healing center, and I can walk through it. I have a multi-sensory experience as I walk through this building. And what I see is a space where all the elements are there for people to receive that healing, but also the practitioners. And I can see specifically a woman that comes in, and I feel like she has like some autoimmune and she's not getting the answers. And she takes this deep sigh of relief as she walks in the space. The space in itself is healing, but she's finally going to find that practitioner that's going to get to the root cause. And then that practitioner is going to very happily and eagerly refer them to another practitioner, and they collaborate for the greater good of that individual.
Yeah.
And this coming from 20 years, I worked 20 years in healthcare, and this is the way healthcare should be. It should be focused on that individual and their needs,
Yeah.
not the numbers, not the other analytics, but really getting to the root. And I used to think that vision in GOL was separate, but it's not.
Mm-mm.
What we're doing in GOL with the GOL network of providers and the Gathering of Lightworkers community, it's the virtual version of it. It's really that network coming together and making those connections and making profound change in people's lives. And
Yes.
it's amazing. It's really been
Yes.
amazing. It's amazing. And you're part of that. Share, if you could take a moment, just kind of share what your gifts are, what services you offer, um, before we get started on sharing about India.
Ooh. Where do I start with that? I was raised in such a way with so much trauma around me as a child that I had to reach out and feel people. I had to say, "Are you okay to play with today? Or do I need to go get my mom or my dad?" And every day from 5 to 11 years old, my ability to sense and feel people, that empathicness was used almost like a muscle. It just was amplified, amplified, amplified to where then when I became an adult, um, I was gifted the how can I say this? I can feel people. I can see tap into people's higher self or their soul and have a conversation. What's blocking you from the life that you want? What is stumbling you? What pattern are you continually repeating again and again? And what's the root cause of that emotion creating the pattern? They have proven now in neurology, psychiatry, we are addicted to our emotions. So being able to go in and help people, by holding up a mirror, um, this is the emotion that appears to be an addiction, and you're creating it again and again and again, dating the same person, having the same boss at work, creating the same situations. And so I kind of help people by holding up a mirror so they can see those parts of themselves that are unconscious, that they're not able to see themselves, that are repetitively causing more trauma, more trauma, more trauma. um,
And I've
I for
heard
quite
too, like being addicted to your story.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
there's someone that recently said that to me, and she was talking about her own story, and she
Yeah.
was saying, "I need to release that and not be addicted to my story."
Yes. And
And
they've actually proven that the emotions in the body that are repetitive again and again, say abandonment, that it releases a chemical, and it goes in and creates kind of a small chain peptide in our hypothalamus, goes down through the bloodstream, acts like a key, locks into our cell. When our cell regenerates, it has more desire for that emotion than it does for health or nutrition. And it's the same process as a drug addiction, alcohol addiction, a sex addiction. We become addicted to our emotions. We become addicted to our story. So how can I have a bright light to see that so that then I can begin to, uh, in the beginning, pause and make a choice, or to stop and go the other direction?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's just it's just holding that space, right? And you talk a lot about being in that mirror for people because you are in essence, you do reflect. That's one of your gifts.
Yes.
And utilizing those God-given gifts of intuitiveness. We all have that, right? And just being able to foster that and share
Well,
that.
And
too.
that's one of the things too that I really work with people because Hermes, the bird-headed guy back in the days of the Egyptian pharaohs, he had such great wisdom. And one of the things that he spoke of was that we live in a world of opposites, of polarity, night, day, man, woman, good, bad, all of that. So for every trauma that I've walked through is a gift. Now I can be a victim to that trauma, or I can pluck out the gift, right? Like the pearl, the little piece of sand got in the oyster
Mhm.
and just, oh, well, the oyster makes a pearl. How do I take those traumas and turn it into a pearl? Right?
Mm,
I wouldn't be able to do the work I used to do. I wouldn't be able to work with people in the way that I do now had I not had all those traumas. And, like you were saying, Nikki, I was so addicted to my story. Anybody that would listen, a stranger at a bus stop, I would blah my story. And it wasn't until probably 10 years ago that I learned to step out of the victimization of that, grab the gift and the knowing and turn it into a beautiful pearl in my life that then I can use that to help others turn their traumas into
mhm.
pearls. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
And
got a choice. We can live in victim or we
mhm.
can live in the gift.
And even the losses, it's when we are challenged, we're faced with a lot of life challenges, our valleys, the losses, and staying in faith
Mhm.
versus reverting to that fear state, but staying in the faith state. It's that duality of choice of which one do we want to look at and perspective of what happened. Everybody I'm sure that's watching this, and you and I both have had a lot of great loss and challenges in our life. I've known you personally for many years. I want to say eight. It's probably been close to that. Um,
2015, 16,
yeah,
2016. Yeah.
yeah. And so we've walked together through a lot of different things in our life,
Yes.
and we have a choice of do we keep our head in the sand and right and that
Mhm.
victim, right? And we can still validate and honor that, or do we choose to, okay, I see that, and how can I grow and learn from that and move forward? And
Yes.
I
I
think
was
that
watching a little reel yesterday in regards to this man kind of walking through down the street through a village, and he walks up and this couple were getting flowers and he pushes them and knocks them down. And the whole video was about him doing these things to people that didn't seem to be kind. Well, then it went back and it replayed it again. And when he pushed them and knocked them down, it was because a car went out of lost its direction and just had they it mowed down the flower cart. Had they been there, they would have been mowed down. And I
mm,
think that's, it really hit for me. I can look at traumas like, oh, poor me, and boy, that was a horrible childhood, and what a victim. But every single thing gave me the tools and the gifts to be who it is that my soul came here to be. And
mhm.
so that's, again, we can live in victim, we can live in the grace of the gift that is in that. Yeah.
And that
And it
reminds me, and I think it's you that recommended this book a long time ago, Radical Forgiveness for Healing
yes. Yes.
by Colin Tippin. If you guys
Yes.
haven't listened to the Audible, very, very good perspective on why
Yes.
we are here for our soul to transform,
Yes.
heighten that spiritual intelligence, the soul contracts between people, what experiences we're supposed to have. Great, but it also translates into what you're talking about too when we have those past traumas, where that embeds in our tissue.
Yes.
What radical forgiveness for healing specifically talks about is how that can manifest. So when your heart's broken, you can have from this area like breast cancer or something going on with your heart, it will create that physical disease
Yes.
process as well when we're locking that emotion and trauma in.
Yes. Yeah. No, it definitely affects the body. I mean, they've proven a lot of that in regards to our vagus nerve that comes from our brain, goes behind our ears, down through our whole body. It handles our nervous systems, our anxiety. It is spurred by the gut bacteria, and that keeps it healthy. But a huge part of that as well is our own well-being. Am I living in the moment, or is my mind obsessively repeating, our self-obsessed thoughts about the past, whether it was pleasant or unpleasant, or about the future, was it, pleasant or unpleasant? So many of us are not in this present moment, which is where eternity is. And that was one of the greatest learnings when I was in India for a month.
I was gonna
Was
say that parlays into your recent trip that you just took.
it was so life changing and powerful. And yes, I went into a place. It's called Ekam, Ekam, which is the Sanskrit word for the one, the all, um, the oneness university. So I did go and attend in an ashram, and I the tools that I was given for my belt, to wear were just, I don't know that I could even put it in words. But it wasn't even just the ashram and the school, it was actually India itself. So many of the people that live there have, in our terms of looking at life, have nothing. A lot of people don't even have shoes. And yet, everyone I encountered was present and was at peace. They were joyful, even in
Effective,
traffic.
right?
Oh, it was so
Effective.
powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Even in traffic, they'll use their horns to communicate, but I saw no road rage, no anger, no frustration. People were just kind of driving, right? It was life changing. One of the biggest things that I learned at Eckham, though, was about staying present, using my breath to come back to the present moment, because my breath is my oldest friend. It's the first thing I have when my soul enters this body. It's the last thing I have when my soul leaves this body. It's my best friend.
Yes. Yes.
And so if I find where I'm obsessing on something in the past, whether it was really good or whether it was not good, or if I'm like worried or dealing with something in the future, whether I am excited about something or whether I'm not excited about something, how that self-obsessive thinking, it just creates more of what I've always had. Whereas if I can stay in this present moment and I use my breath to bring myself back, if I can
Mm-hmm.
stay in this present moment, and I always say through the doorway of gratitude, it just brings me right back to where I'm living in joy. I'm living in gratitude. I'm living in love. It's such a better life. I mean, I wish I'd have known all this at 20.
Wasn't our journey.
No, no, no.
Well, and
But
authenticity, right? And all
mhm,
that being authentically yourself in that moment.
yes,
And it's we have several practitioners that teach breath work and meditation and something that could be simple, but we forget to do
yes.
it and exhale.
Well, and when we go through a lot of trauma, like in the trauma that I went through as a child, I learned to stand there and hold my breath.
True.
Don't
Yeah.
breathe, right? Don't say a word. Don't breathe. You'll be okay. You'll be safe. Just and so learning how to breathe, learning that I am breathing, right? That took me what 60 years to learn that. Um, but it truly, breath and gratitude are the two doorways that I learned that bring me right back to this present moment. And being in this present moment is that's where what I call God is, the divine, the all, whatever you want to name that. That's where that is, because in the present moment is eternity. So from that present moment, then begin to create or design what I want to have occur, you know? But
Mm-hmm.
to create what I'm wanting in my future from the present moment, not from fear, not from being in the past or the future, or right, but being in my
Right.
breath, in gratitude in this moment. Yeah.
I
That
love that.
that alone, and it sounds simple, it's not, right? Because
Well,
the itty bitty shitty
yeah.
committee, it wants to throw us back
Yes.
and forth and
Yes.
back and forth.
Got three
Yeah.
voices in my head. Itty bitty shitty committee, spirit, and my voice.
Yeah. And the soul. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Let's take it back just a little bit. I knew you got that big perspective, but um, yeah, just kind of describe like when you got there, just kind of, because I think it was a 3 week silent
Yeah. It
retreat.
was a 4 week.
Yeah.
Yep.
4 week. Okay, so just if you can kind of take it back, just kind of like when you got there, and just if you're able to share kind of the processes that you went through and experienced while you were at the ashram.
Well, I'm a very balanced version of an extrovert introvert, but I tend to talk a lot. So having it be a silent retreat, I did pretty good 80% of the time. But it was very different uh, in sharing a room with 9 people and not speaking or not, you know, even in what we've learned as politeness. Um, the first week they walk us through, and these are kind of the things that they teach. I'll touch on them, but if you really want to experience this, please reach out. I'll give you the information. It is one of the most amazing, life-changing things I've ever done. And I know they also, like their Sri Preetaji, who is one of the teachers at the school, her and her husband, she's going to be in LA in September. Um, and does like a field of awareness. They do amazing seminars across the world that I completely recommend. But they talk in this 4 week thing that I took. It's called tapas, and they talk a lot about maras, and you could almost say demons in if you were to put it in Christian terminology, but the things that kind of haunt us.
Mhm.
Um, that control us, really. And so the first week they walk through the ego. That was fun, right? And then the second week they walk through the mind, what I've always called the itty bitty shitty committee. And the third week they walk through duality. And the duality, Mara, is really kind of what's caused all the wars in our world. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm better, you're lower. My belief system is right. I'm going to see the all. Your belief system is not. You're going to go to hell. All of that duality that we have in this world. Um, and then the last week, and this one was the most profound for me. They call it kind of the motor for all the other maras. It's called the craving mara. And at first, I was like, okay, good. I get to get rid of my ice cream craving, right? But it wasn't about that. It was more about, like, for myself as an example, never felt loved, always felt abandoned. And so everything subconsciously I was doing in life was out of that abandonment and that feeling of not being loved. As loving as people say that I've been in life, there was an underlying subconscious need that was actually taking more from people than I was giving, because of that craving to be loved, that craving to not be abandoned. And for me, that was probably the most powerful of those 4 weeks of what they were teaching. Everybody had kind of their own. The other thing that really impacted me, Nikki, was there was, I think, on average 400 people, and there was 30 countries represented. There was
Wow.
every religion. I swear every religion on earth was there. There was Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists. There was a Sikh. I mean, everything was represented. Atheists. We
That's
had one young
amazing.
man that was
That's
an
amazing.
atheist. Yes. However, when we were in the sanctuary and we were singing and praying and meditating, everybody was at one. Everybody was singing and praying to the divine, the all, that is not a religion, that is not from a country, that is the all of everything. And that, at one point I just sat there with tears running down my face, because this is the way our world is designed and meant to be.
Mhm. And don't
Right?
you
we're
think we're moving much quicker to that? We're
I
seeing,
think that I think that half the world is, yes, because we live in polarities.
yes.
The other half, and all you have to do, which I never do, but all you have to do is turn on the news and you'll see the other half that's creating fear and hatred and division. And oh my gosh, we're all going to die. If it isn't the eclipse, it's bombs, right? I mean, so while that is going on, the other part of us is waking up
Hmm.
and rising, and we are becoming at one. And please don't please don't take that like, oh my god, the one world government, we're all in trouble. No, 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 that's not what I'm saying. We're becoming at one in service to gratitude, in service to love, in service to kindness and compassion and grace, right? All those attributes that Christ, that Buddha, that Hanuman, all of the examples in every religion that they've given us. And it's happening now. I can concentrate, again, we go back to the polarities. I can concentrate on what the news is telling me, or the
Hmm.
powers that think they be afraid, right? Or I can
Hmm.
concentrate here in knowing I'm all good. I live in love. I only attract abundance and beauty to my life through that doorway of gratitude in the present moment. I get to choose.
Well, and it's too,
Yeah.
it's what, and it really is simple terms. I mean, what energy you put out is what you're attracting.
Yes.
And that comes from, and I've said this before in some of our coffee and collaborations, it's there's a quote from Neville Goddard and there's quotes in the Bible, and it's the same thing. Like when you're setting your environment and you're inviting in what you want, that is what you're going to be received. Those are the gifts from God. That would be the Bible verses, or from Neville Goddard from a quantum physics standpoint
Yeah.
of manifestation. It's just different words
Yeah.
for the same thing.
Yeah. If I take my guitar and I pluck the C chord, the universe is going to echo C. It's not going to bring me a D or E or G,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And so if I'm like, oh, how am I going to survive? How am I going to make it? How am I? The universe is like, oh, okay, well, let's just bring her more of that frequency. That's and they've actually proven that. So yeah,
Yeah,
just a
it's
different
science.
way to put it. Yep, it is
It's
very
not
science.
it's not a bunch of woo-woo. This is
Mm-mm.
all scientifically from physics to quantum
Yep.
levels proven. And I think that's the beautiful part is we have so many professionals that are in our group that are writing books, writing articles,
Mm.
like yourself, going halfway across the world, taking these retreats and seeing this magnificent collection of different personalities, right? Different face, different, and we're coming together for common ground, common good. There's that unified tie. We're not all that different, right?
Yeah.
We all come from some of that same thread. We just have different stories, different traumas, different ways that we were raised, but we really aren't that different from each
No,
other.
not at all. And having 30 countries there with everybody's different ways of and manners and the ways that people are raised in their cultures and to see all of that. However, it moved as a giant wheel where everybody was just at one and loving and kind. When I came back and I flew back into Seattle, and I'm just like, I immediately went, oh, great, here I am. Nobody's happy, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, in this huge line, I don't know if you've been to SeaTac Airport lately, but whoo, I mean, there was probably 300 people waiting to go through customs and come into the country. And I just was like, yep, nobody's happy. See how it is, la la la. And all of a sudden, I look across and there's a lady with just a twinkle, a spark in her eye, and she looks at me and I look at her, and we're like, hey, hey, and we start the sparkle of that little spark, that you talked about. But we started that spark through the line of, wow, isn't this wonderful? Everybody's here. We made it
Yeah.
safe, and so easily was able to hop back into seeing the beauty of everyone standing there versus concentrating on the cranky people.
Just
Yeah.
yes. Or and yeah, it is like it's very contagious, right?
Yes. Yes.
When we're like, okay, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't know these strangers. Or what if we make friends? Like
Yes. It's
it's
very magnetic, right? We
super magnetic.
magnetize to each other. And not only that, I mean, you can see it. Just go to the grocery store. You'll see the people that are walking in like, right? And they're happy. Or you'll see the people walking in just solid complaints and their heads hanging down, and you can tell they don't physically feel good. And right? I mean, and the division right now, there's no in between.
Hmm.
Yeah. You're either healing and rising to the best your soul came to be, or you're just swimming deeper right now. I mean, there's just no.
It's
Uh,
also, and I say this often, is GOL is a safe foundation and landing spot for the
yes.
newly like, whoa, wait a second, right? The discovery, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. Because people are it's like I always say like we got lights, like we got these vests with lights on and we're activating each other. It's like boop, and we're
Yes.
turning on like just like you saw that lady, it was like boop, and then all
Yep.
of a sudden that spark and that spark and that spark, and we're seeing it where people that were kind of asleep and
Yes.
now they're like, oh, it's like a whole new world. I had no idea. And then they come into GOL. It's cute because they're like, oh my gosh, where do I start? I want to do
Yes.
this and I want to learn that and I want to learn this. It's like, it's we can see it over and over, the excitement. It's like a kid in a candy shop, you know? And it's just giving them a space to be safe to share what's on their mind and not judge because they're new to it, right? And then also be guided by people that we know, love, and trust,
Yes.
and they're in good hands. And so I think that's also important as we have this duality. People are coming over, right? And we're coming together, and so giving them space to land
Yes. Yes.
and get the answers that they need. And there's
Yes.
constant growing. Oh my gosh. Every time we get together, I learn something new. It's
Yes.
amazing. It's
Yes.
never ending. Um, Before we wrap this up, because I know you have an appointment coming up, but if you were to give one tip, one tool, one um, words of wisdom to our viewers that are watching this, what comes to mind that you would like to give?
There are no victims in this world. We can choose to take what has occurred, whether we attracted it or whether we were dumped into it. We can choose to take what's occurred in our life and be a victim, or we can squeeze the pearls out of it and realize that those are gifts that we can use to heal myself or to help others in this path. If at all, through the doorway of gratitude, you can be in the present moment, you will find joy, you will find happiness, and your life will be a completely different experience. It's up to each individual to choose. Are you going to live in your unconsciousness and continue to repeat your patterns again and again and be the victim? Or are you going to rise up and clean up that unconscious, live in the present moment consciously, choosing to be who it is your soul came here to be? It's up to you. No judgment. Everybody gets to choose, right? No judgment, but you get to choose
Yeah.
every single moment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming on, dear
I'm so,
friend.
it's been amazing, Nikki, to see what your soul has created, right? To see when we first met where you were and what you've come through, and then to create this elaborate network of absolutely bright, wise, incredible, loving souls that are there to help others that are coming in, and everyone has a piece of that gift. But to watch you grow that from what, 12 people that first coffee to what you said, you had 700 people now on Facebook, and I mean, to watch you grow this into a gathering of light workers. Truly, it's like this beautiful, each thread of person coming in, and you are weaving just this most incredible blanket of love and of people that are here to serve. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for all that you do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Um, it is. It's my heart pours in gratitude. Our tribe is amazing and they are like my family. There's outside this room right now. You got to meet
Yeah.
one of them. But yeah,
Beautiful souls.
it's a beautiful journey and it's a divine journey and just stepping forward in faith
Yeah.
and believing in yourself and believing in that purpose, I think is what carries it forward. But yes, what I'll do for this recording, I'm going to drop your information, Laurie, in the
Thank you.
comments. And so we'll have that there. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to meet Laurie Ray, I got to find out more. Laurie does offer services and helping with those blockages and uses her intuitive gifts to do that. I'm sure she'd be happy to also share about her
Yes.
recent experience in India at the silent retreat. So we'll make sure to do that. And then please go to www.thegolnetwork.com. We do have an updated URL. So the golnetwork.com, much shorter and sweeter and easier to type out. So hop
Yeah.
on there, check out our provider directory and also our upcoming events. Those are all on there and it's always being updated. So every time you come on, I'm sure you're going to see something brand new. So hold on to your seats. We've got exciting stuff coming. All right. Well, we'll
Yeah.
close this out. Thank you, Laurie Ray.
Yes. God bless you.
Yes, God bless you.
Yes.
And thank you to everybody that
Thank you,
stayed on
everybody.
to watch. Okay, much love, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.